Hey everybody, Texas Stroker here, Lance's Performance Shop, LoneStarMopars.com. It is Friday night. I'm having a great day. I hope you are too. If you're not, you're about to be. It's 7:37 and the current temperature is cooled all the way down to 99. I left work a little bit early tonight, around 6:30, and it was 102 in the truck all the way home. Fantastic, I know. That said, I'm a little backlogged on these videos. I can tell you right now, this is going to be number 11. I've got 12 and 13 lined up right after it. All this stuff I'm going to be bringing in these next three is from a Father's Day sale at KC Tool, and I wish I could have had it out ahead of time, but hey, one a week, that's kind of what you run into. So without further ado, let's get cranking here. I'm going to try sort of swinging it around a little bit this time, but as you should know at KC Tool, if you eclipse the $50 mark, you get free freight. If you eclipse the $100 mark, you actually get the free sticker pack, which has got plenty of these things. We'll find something cool to do with them eventually. It's the same Veriflyer. We're not going to cover that. But every single time you order from KC Tool, whether you're spending $6 on a screwdriver or 10,000, I don't know what you'd get with 10,000. I'd assume you'd get one bit of things, but I'm not sure if maybe they'd swing you multiple. What I can tell you right now is they've changed things up with a bit of things. You used to always get a Philo number 2 stamped also with KC Tool. They're working with Wiha this time. They've of course got 24. You've seen us whittling away. It's very cool when some of y'all come in the comments and kind of fill in what you've got. In the video description, I'm going to have a link to the Lone Star Mopars forum. I'm going to start a thread documenting what these are. If you've gotten some gathered up that I do not have, feel free to leave the description. I will get it added to the list and, of course, give you credit. That said, this is number 9 out of 24. This is number 71142. This is a number 2 by 50, so that's actually going to be very useful. And, of course, it's titanium. So key thing there is not 25 millimeters, double length if you will, power bit size, however you want to refer to that in your particular lingo, but it's number 2, so I can use the snot out of it and see how it compares to other bits. Very cool. I've also got a handy dandy scratch sheet that I just made. We're gonna throw that off. I was writing that on a wobbly surface, my apologies, but for those of you scoring at home, we've got 21, 19, 11, 8. I feel like I have 3 somewhere too. Don't hold me to it. But what I want to do this time is just kind of change things up a bit. And I'm also kind of in a hurry to get this done because a lot of these things I want to use tomorrow. So, and some of them I've already used, not going to lie. Sometimes they come into work and I just can't help myself. But as I start with so many times, I tell you, what made me order today on KC Tool? And is it just an impulse buy? Is it the ever-increasing screwdriver showdown? In this case, it was the tool of the day, which many of you probably expected. And what this is something I'd wanted for a long time. Not necessarily this model, though. But these are Fit Shears. These are the old school ones people always complain about. And I will be 100% honest, I wanted to buy the red acetate handle ones. They've not really changed anything ever since they started producing these suckers, which is cool. It's got pros and cons, but mostly positives in my opinion. That means you're making something that's good enough to keep you in business and good enough to make new sales or repeat sales of people that were happy with them. So something must be right. But nonetheless, I think it's their Fit Shear number 14 is usually around $19, I think. And it's the red acetate handle. It literally looks like something that your grandparents would have had when they bought it new in the 50s or 60s. It's like a throwback vibe. If I ever find that on Tool of the Day, I'm going to bring it in. But for now, this is sort of their modern one with the comfort 2-component type of a handle. And I'm not going to lie, I have used these at work just playing around just once. It's not like you're going to be able to look at them and be appalled that they're worn out or something before we showcase them. The coolest thing is that they shear, and they actually did quite well with what I was doing. We didn't put them through too much of a pace. What am I going to do with them tomorrow? Why do I really want to get this video cranked out? I want to see them in action against some roses. I've got some stuff I've got to do at my sister's house tomorrow on Saturday, and as dumb as it may sound, as unlikely as it is for many of you to subject them to pruning roses, that's exactly what I'm going to see how they stack up with. So it's one of their advertised uses, so I assume it's something that has been successful and enjoyable for people. And if you've ever pruned roses, it's kind of a nightmare and very very painful job to come across. But you can kind of see how the knife edge comes together and then the shear. And let's, without further ado, crank these suckers out. Now, if you check out reviews on these, you'll see, I think somebody wrote out the whole story. German Tool Reviews, he brought them in. He had the red acetate handle ones, which, this is sort of a channel lock blue with like a matching red. You know, it's not a bad color scheme, but I kind of had my heart set on the acetate handle, but at the same time, I was able to get this one cheaper. So, it got them here. We're going to get to check them out, but check that out. I really like how they've got made in Germany stamped, and it is a multifunctional tool. Now, if you want something super smooth, this is not your pair. That would be Knipex. Some people like things to just flop down like that. I actually kind of don't. I don't know if it's because I've used so much Klein stuff over the years. Theirs isn't super tight, but it's also not sloppy right out of the box. But I thought these weren't bad at all. I mean, they were definitely, you could tell a difference betwixt, you know, other pliers. But the handles are comfortable. They've got an edge guard. Right back here, this where my thumb is dangerously located, that's where I'm going to be shearing pruning some roses tomorrow. So I'm kind of excited. Like I mentioned, the neatest thing here, particularly if small runs of sheet metal, I'm trying to think of an application. If you're just trimming something like galvanized plate or aluminum or something, or brackets even, you could probably knock off with these. But if it's a shallow cut, you wouldn't necessarily replace tin snips with these. But it will work quite well. I hate sacrificing the kind of cool stuff here, but let me show you. Typical pair of pliers, all right, we can grab, everything's good. They are just traditional serrated jaws. They're not cross-hatched or anything, which is my personal preference when it's an option. But where these will excel and do things that you can't do with others, you might have combination pliers that can do it, right? Make a cut, but these work like scissors. Note, granted, I cut through a hole. Let me come in here for you. If we were using regular combination pliers, this job would be a nightmare. If I'm tasked with just trimming off the back side of this. With these, I can actually work my way through the entire length of the cardboard in relative ease. I guess I should cut more off to showcase it. But it's one of those things. There are certain times in your life when you're tasked with something, and if you had a tool like this, it would in fact make your life a little bit easier. So it's one of those deals. Do you like it? Do you love it? Do you hate it? I can't tell you until you've experienced yourself, but it's been on my wish list. Not this model, the number 14. This is the number 15. But where people complain, and what I think the issue is, there is a tall edge here on the blade, which I've kind of played with these and worn them down a little bit, so it's not as dramatic as it is right out of the box. But that's where you've got your friction. That's your point of contact, and it certainly overlaps where your cutting surface would be on the shear. I believe that is exactly where people are running into their complaint. But I got these for $19.99. The number 14s, which is the super sweet red acetate handled ones, are typically, I think, this price or a little bit more. I think these are usually 25-ish, somewhere in there. Not a huge savings, but enough for me to say, hey, let's do it. And of course, there were some other things I wanted, so let's get to those. If you have used these, what do you honestly think of them? And is it kind of like a novelty purchase where you're like, oh, that's such a cool story, gotta bring them in too? Or was it a scenario where you've actually found yourself using them? Again, picture this as sheet metal, and whatever we're trying to do, whether we have to shape it or trim it, it would actually be quite useful. And in fact, that's what I did at work. It's a little very thin galvanized piece I trimmed. What I want to get to now is probably the cheapest item we brought in. This is from Knipex. Knipex and the cheapest item. That's not something that you will catch me saying very often. But behold the glory of the plastic tweezer. All right, I guess we need it on this side so you can kind of appreciate the logo. Pretty sure that's going to rub off, not that it matters. I don't know that you're getting anything better quality than if you were to order on Amazon, but I would have a suspicion that you are. What I do with these, it's fuse puller type stuff, and I don't know, I guess I've really looked, but I've also never seen, typically the cheap fuse pullers, which you got to realize I'm going back in the 60s here, but they're plastic material like this. They have the tweezers on one side and then just sort of the cupped end, kind of like with my finger there, that'll just grab a glass fuse. That's right, boys and girls. That's what we used in the 60s, and pull it out, and it actually works really well. You would not want metal in that case. Plastic would be the material of choice. And so I found myself using them for other things. It's usually something I don't want to damage, particularly if it's painted and light duty stuff. And I thought these would be worth a go. They were $4.34, part number 926984, and we will see how they hold up over time. The Fit Shears, I think if you don't want to type in number 15, you're going to have to task yourself with typing Fit 15 on KC Tool. Or you can click Fit, and you can take your pick. I think they have 2 products that you can choose from. So, continuing on that front, these were something that I busted out and I did actually use at work. And I want you to look at these and tell me what you think they would cost. They're from Wiha. They are angle cutters, but they're also high leverage, and they are offset. So we've got some unique features there. High leverage and offset. What would you pay for this? What would you think it would be worth? You're probably coming back, well, you know, if it was Channelog, it'd probably be around 19, so it's German. But Wiha's pliers are Vietnam, so, you know, probably, you know, 29, something around there. Sit down. This is not tool of the day. This was $12.98. I paid $12.98 for these suckers. The Wiha pliers, I was kind of a little leery because they were Vietnamese, you know. Nothing against that, but, you know, when you're buying German tools, you're kind of thinking, okay, let's run with that, right? The first pair of pliers I brought in were those dolphin nose ones, and bent nose, I guess I should say. They're okay, but they had some pretty obvious imperfections on the surface where, you know, the grinding was done, kind of didn't mate up properly, had some bulges, kind of like that. The gripping side was okay, the cutting side was okay, it's just in the middle, and I was sort of turned off because of that. And then when I brought in their super cuts, the bi-cuts, that's why I have both of them. I've got the regular one and the comfort grip one because I really, really liked those. And that gave me faith enough to try this, particularly for $12.98. This is something I don't think I could walk in Walmart and save much money over a cheap Chinese pair that would probably run me $9.99 or more, considering that these are, in fact, offset and high leverage. So the part number here is going to be 3620. These are 8 inches long. I really like the way Wiha packages these. But again, you can see there, 26-degree offset cutting angle. They're made from C70 tool steel. 8 inches, 200 millimeters. Again, high leverage. All right. They are 64 on the hardness scale. That offset comes in very, very helpful. I've got some at work, and it's nice to have them, but I don't have any here. And the ones at work are also worn out, which is why I grabbed these, because I knew that it would potentially save me some time and trouble. So, you got the Wiha branding here on both sides. Kind of interesting. Sometimes you would think, like, if we're going to advertise there, maybe on the handle we put it on the flip side. But I do guess they have the SKU and the part number. There's the... let me bring it up where you can see it, wiha.com, and of course then they've got the part number, the SKU, everything like that. What I like to do, and I don't know if it's the best way to handle things or not, but I like to, with brand new cutting pliers, put something white behind it. And do I see daylight? Do I see irregularities? Do I see the paper? In fact, let me just grab this little sheet from the dealership. If that's open, you can clearly see the white. Now, if you get like a lesser quality, you know, it's typically at the top where they're ground wrong. Sometimes they shut at the top and you've got an issue where it's open at the bottom. But as you can see, when I shut these, we don't have daylight. So that, again, is a good sign, at least the way I evaluate things. And again, I did use these probably for about 40 minutes. And we don't have any noticeable signs, any wear and tear, so that speaks good for them. But the catch is, you can kind of see that angle right there. The handle's over here, and the cutter's down here. Not always is this something you're going to want to use, but it is super nice to have it when you need it. Particularly what I found when you're doing flush cuts on a flush surface, it's really hard for me to come in here and get my knuckles down on the material and articulate the plier. Whereas with these, I've got the cutting surface flush on the mat, and then my hands are up here and I'm free to move along the line. That's my application. That's why I think they're useful, and they were $12.98. So Next time I order, I'm probably going to bring in another pair of these and keep them at work. But, these are equipped not with their fancy high-end finish, but I've actually gotten to where I kind of like this one. This isn't the plastic dip like you would have with, you know, your bottom tier. It's sort of, I guess, the medium tier. Some people actually do prefer the plastic dip over this, but this is just textured. Think of it as like a textured plastic dip. And I've gotten, like I said, to where I really do kind of prefer this style, sometimes even over the comfort handles. So if you've never experienced it, I encourage you to do so. And we are now to, for many of you, what is probably going to be the most exciting part. And I am looking frantically for this. Found it. I was getting worried for a second. We technically brought in our first ever Hazet tool last time or time before. It was a spark plug brush. Not necessarily the best representation, but if you're on KC Tool frequently, you know they got the Father's Day sale going. One of the items there, and it's fairly reasonably priced to begin with, but this is one of those things. You remember back with the Wiha demagnetizer, and I was talking about the seafoam green, and how it just kind of, you know, seemed like something from the 60s or 70s to me. This from Hazet, it's nothing fancy, it's just their magnetic parts cup. It kind of has that same vibe. I guess Hazet, you know, kind of has the color scheme black and cyan, in this case cyan being the highlighted color. It's very, very unique. And it is on sale for Father's Day, and if you enter your code DAD15, you actually save a little bit more on top of that, which is pretty cool. But what this would be listed at is actually $18.75 right now. Part number is going to be HZ746-1. No, I'm sorry. Don't look that up. It'll spoil the video. This is going to be HZ197-3. This is 150 millimeter diameter, or roughly 6 inches for those of us back home, magnetic cup. And what you should know, I like magnetic cups because we've done some in other videos. But what I really was interested in experiencing with this one, very simple, very clean, effective packaging. Honestly, it's just that it's angled, and what does that mean for you? Well, if I were to mount this in this orientation with the magnet, you know what? That's awesome. I don't know if you can tell. Does that look rubbery to you? I believe it does. So many times with these magnetic parts trays, Harbor Freight, a Step Up, I won't say tool truck because I don't have them, but I think I've had some in the past at work. I don't recall one having rubber around the magnet. Now, why would you want to do that? If you've got a nice engine bay, you don't want to scuff the paint. If you've got anything you don't want to scuff the paint on, that is going to be a very nice selling feature. You can see it really well there. I'll bring another one out in a second to compare it for you. But that's super cool. The thing is, though, picture this on your firewall. Okay, mounted like this. So let's flip it around. We're in the engine bay over here. This is the firewall. Now, a typical parts tray, you're going to just have, you know, your spark plugs or your, I don't know, exhaust manifold bolts, header bolts, whatever you're doing back here. This gives you depth. You know, if you've got a bowl for cereal, you can get a bigger bowl for cereal. This is angled, but what that's going to allow me to do is A, get my hand in easier at the top side, but then B, everything down here, I've got a way, way greater capacity. Something else I'm noticing having this in hand, this has a textured finish, the entire thing, which will be good for gripping. There's hand slots around the edge. This is impressive. They've actually put some thought into this. Usually it's like, yeah, put my logo on it and sell it. Logo's also at the bottom, which, depending now, if you use it like that, it'll be subjected to a lot, but if you're using it in a vertical orientation, I assume you would do so with this at the bottom, and then it would protect the logo some. But the way this is, I'm kind of riding the waves there with my finger. That'll prevent things from rolling out. You'll also have the magnetic abilities, but what I'm saying in essence, you can sort it like this, and again have easy access to it, and a pretty high rim, relatively speaking, when you were to compare it to standard magnetic trays. But in this orientation, you've got a crud ton of capacity. You can also just, you know, if you had the bolt head fastened here, well, it's stainless, but not sure where they are. I think, you know what? I think I put them on the car. I think I actually installed something. So anyway, case in point, that's magnetic. This is long. If we had, you know, say 1.25" hardware, it's fine. If we had, say, a pass-through bolt for a frame rail, or a really long stud, maybe a new alternator or water pump or something of length, a typical magnetic tray is just going to be fastened to back here. This will actually provide support for it. This is something I would recommend you pick up. If you've got a home workshop, a commercial place, this is well designed. This is actually thought out. And I know it's just a magnetic tray, but I am impressed. So let me grab this one up here. I've moved it off to the side. I've just got aluminum stuff in here because I'm using it as a tray. This is my Mopar one, which is slightly more impressive than the Harbor Freight ones. It does have a padding on the magnet. My other Harbor Freight trays, which again, nothing wrong with them. They've worked fine. I've had them the longest. They are straight up magnet back here. That is solid metal. So this one did have a pad too. But case in point, look at this. Okay, we've got like a 3/8 to a -6 just fitting here, right? If I turn that sideways, if it was to be mounted on my firewall, everything falls out because I have no depth, okay? I can take these same fittings and throw them in the Hazet cup. I'm flirting with it. I mean, that's full vertical here. But check that out. The ribs are keeping it in place. So very, very neat in my opinion. Obviously, again, if those were steel or magnetic material, you know, they would be fastened even better. But they are aluminum. They're not magnetic, as you can see. Sweet. And that's not metal line. That's aluminum as well. Fuel line off the duster. I know that's probably a little more detail than you were expecting on this. I thought I'd breeze through it as well, but I gotta say, I do like this thing. So kudos to you, Hazet. This is actually a worthwhile pickup in my opinion. If this is ever on sale, currently it is, but it probably won't be when you see the video. But if you can catch it on Tool of the Day or you're just checking and the price is down, I highly recommend you bring this sucker in. So that is something that I fully endorse. And I'm glad we took a chance on that one. Now, going back to the part number I just rambled off prior to that, which I told you not to look up, it was 746-1. And what is that? This is a center punch from Hazet. That's right, we've gone Hazet crazy. Super expensive brand that we'd kind of been avoiding for that reason in particular. And it was never really in stock when I wanted it. But I was like, you know what? My center punch is kind of cruddy. And I typically just use the quick spring-loaded ones. And I thought, you know what? For what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to want like a heavy one. And that's what I got. And I will probably pair this with one of those door hammers. But you can see right there, I love that it's stamped. It's not just like some printed deal. That's actually stamped. It's going to last. I can abuse this, roll it around, get it dirty, filthy. Going to be able to tell what it is. If you had multiple sizes, that's where that would matter. But the branding is good. The part number's there. Made in Germany. Tip, that's what matters the most on these suckers. Pretty solid. It feels good. The thing I like about this is the good length. A lot of times when you get like the imported ones, they're small and they're also a little thinner material, which basically what that means for me is they're harder to hold. And when I'm going to be throwing down a hammer behind this, I want something that I'm confident that I can hold. So very cool deal there. From time to time, I would come in and like knurl one side. It's kind of dangerous with a hex, and most of them are hex, but that is an option. But not bad. What was the price on this? $11.71. Thought it was a fair price. We'll see how that sucker holds up. Now, at this point in the video, we are pretty much done except for one item, and as you might have guessed, I saved what I thought would be the best for last. This is something I've wanted for an eternity, and super stoked to pick it up. It very well could get put on Tool of the Day here pretty soon and be a little cheaper, but I wanted those Fit Shears. These were on sale. They're still on sale. Like I said, I'll probably be picking up a second pair to keep it work. But this sucker is featured for Father's Day. It's on quite the nice sale, $85.45, then you get some off the top with Dad 15. Here it is. It's our first real Hazet tool. We've granted the center punch, I guess, counts, but I'm not really going to count the spark plug brush. This magnetic tray, though, is pretty sweet. I've never actually seen another brand like that either in terms of their design. But this right here, this is their 1/2-inch drive ratchet. It's a 916 HP. Many of you probably have it already. Many of you have probably been lusting after it for quite some time. And typically with Hazet and Stavilla, the reason you don't see people bring them in is they're cost prohibitive. It's kind of akin to, is the average DIY type person going to invest $180 in a snap-on ratchet? And some people do, most people don't. And these are kind of in that price tier, but with this model in particular, Hazet actually kind of scaled the price down. I believe when German Tool Reviews did his video, he was speculating that this was kind of like, he felt like a gateway drug. Not sure if that was his exact terminology. But I would agree with it, because this is what I have wanted for a very long time. In my Hazet catalog, you won't see standalone ads in there. You know, Vera, yes. I mean, every single page has one. But when we just thumb through this Hazet catalog, hopefully I can find it, or it will look really bad for saying this. But all this is like, you know, products. That's an ad. That's their racing tool line. But everything you're seeing is the actual product. We're hammers, we're pliers. There we go, just past her. This chick is in here in various configurations. I counted at least like 5 or 6 times. They're very dense. They're kind of like Knipex. It's mainly to the point and structured. Like I said, their part numbers I'm not super familiar with just yet. But this is not a page that has ratchets. Yes, there's sockets, but throughout the catalog you can find that woman. And she is advertising the 916 HP. That kind of ties in with what he was saying. This is sort of your introduction to Hazet. Buy this, you're going to like it. When you experience the quality, we're fully confident that you're going to purchase our products, and you know, just accept that they're a little higher price than some of our competitors, and you're going to know that you're getting good quality. Like I said, it was a while back when I flipped through here, but I assure you that woman is in here multiple times, and on different sides, different formats, and not just always the full length runner. Sometimes it's a smaller one. But if you flipped through this, you would see what I'm talking about. There's not the Vera style advertising your own product. This is, and it's always the 916 HP. And right here, not much in this catalog got an entire page dedicated to it. And since we're here, we just as well take a look at it. So hyper fine tooth reversible ratchet, small operating angle. We've got a 4-degree swing arc basically. That's going to be when we go up, and when we come back down we re-engage, make progress actually, which is what a ratchet's supposed to do. Enables even better use in the tightest of spaces. For example, engine, machine construction, agricultural vehicles and machinery, renewable energy, solar, wind, and turbine. It's got 90 teeth, again 4-degree opening angle. There's a locking function, which is going to prevent the unwanted switching of directions. You can get I like this, a lot more performance with same dimensions. That's just straight and to the point there. The length, 275 millimeters. The weight, 595 grams. They're saying power and precision and perfect symbiosis. Now, basically, the stuff right here, everyone that's written a review on these says the same things. You're absolutely never going to push that kind of leverage with this ratchet in standalone form. Now, if you put a 3-foot cheater bar on it, maybe you can get to that point. But essentially, this was built overkill, and it was built very, very well. So again, right there, you can see the max torque rating is absurd. That's not something that you would ever hit with this ratchet. It's not something you would hit with a Vera. It's not something you would hit with Snap-on, Mac, Matco. Anyone's standard half-inch ratchet is not going to be rated that high. There's no point to do it. But that's just the confidence that they've built into this. And again, if you wanted to test it, I'm sure you could. I'm certainly not going to, because I want to use this thing. But the other thing that GTR raved about on his review was the smooth transition. But right here is the packaging. Very simple, very clean. Looks like it just slides through at the top, which is always interesting to me to see how they do things in other countries. But 916 HP, there is again the advertised torque ratings. We got a YouTube clip made in Germany. Right there, you can kind of get a feel for the pawls. The 90 teeth, very fine, if you can kind of see that. Half-inch drive, 4 degrees, pretty much everything we have covered. I actually did not take this out yet. I waited, and I want to use it on the fence and see how well I like it. Virtually every lag screw on the, let's see, the north line and everything that faces east is pretty well in need of tightening. Again, it's been an interesting little year, I must say, weather-wise. First impression, it's got good heft to it. Good grip, however, it's a little kind of like oily. I think that's going to come off. It could be me. Again, my apologies, my hands are filthy. Not filthy, but like it's to that point, like I wash them multiple times and shower, wash them again, and they don't come clean. So that's why I typically do videos on a Sunday. My hands are kind of cleaner, but hey, it is what it is. Cool feature one, we got a hanging hole. Some of you will appreciate that. Black and cyan. Remember when I told you? That's sort of their color scheme. You can see it there. Love that they've got the logo on both sides. Important for some of you. Business side here, very nice. Something also which is a glaring, especially more so in person, is the fact, and this is exactly if you watched GTR's video on this, I think he got it right when it came out. This is a matte chrome, and then this is a polished chrome. So again, must be something in the manufacturing that causes that. It is pretty obvious. It's kind of weird, but in all honesty, it's smooth. It's not got rough edges cutting me. I'm not going to complain. So we're going to see how well it holds up, how it performs. 916 HP made in Germany, stamped right there. Something he raved about was that smooth transition. You usually don't see that on a Ratchet. Not a huge deal for me, but again, if my hand were to slip, I would certainly appreciate it at that point in time. Cool deal here, Vera. If you recall on their big Ratchets I've got, they sort of incorporate their famous handle design. This little Easter egg here, you've got Hazet on the selector switch. That is a very positive feel on the switch, putting decent force into that to change it. But right here, got the detent. There's no push button, no quick release. It's going to be a little bit more old school that way, probably intentional. Right there, we don't have any screws on the front side for this assembly. It's going to be a clip, and here we go. I think we're going to like it. So, there it is. This is the Hazet 916 HP. Like I said, what am I going to do with it? Is it overkill to tighten lag screws with a 1/2 inch ratchet? Yeah, I would say so. Would most people use a power tool? Absolutely. But I don't know why. I'm one of those people. There are many tasks I prefer to do by hand. I can't really tell you why. Sometimes, like when I'm shooting screws through the fence, building new sections, absolutely. You know, I'm going to run out there with the impact. But with the lag screws, I've just always kind of done it this way. And of course you got to get around your post, and so you just kind of run a small extension, like a 2 or 3 inch, and then a deep well socket's what I typically use. So I'm going to take this bad boy, and we are going to tighten the fence up before had a really nasty storm last night. Raptors beat the Warriors in Game 6, and then holy smokes, man. It's, the wind and the rain and the hail came, so it's kind of imperative that I get that taken care of. But I've wanted this for a very, very long time. We finally have it. I'm super excited about it. Not to be a total dork, but this magnetic parts tray is pretty legit as well. So we've got official Hazet tools in our arsenal now. We're going to see how well. I'm pretty impressed with the center punch too. Don't want to geek out too much, but as somebody that's held a lot of center punches, that one's pretty nice. So the packaging was cool. We got these for $12.98, which is just insanity in my opinion. And then, of course, we have our Fit Shears, which, like I said, I do think you will find uses for them if you have them and remember that you've got them. This is what came with the Hazet ratchet. You can kind of see it was cut away so it could just pull out. If, for whatever reason, you had a printing error with a cardboard and it wasn't pre-separated, if a worker at Hazet had access to these Fit Shears, we could come in and we could... Ow, that was my arm. You know that time I told you that I was having a hard time gripping stuff? Well, I still am. And I see what was happening. I was running into the backside there. It's really hard to do things when you can't grip good, but you get the idea. We can basically work our way forward and recreate the same cut if I was going straight. And with that said, my arm is not feeling too good. But these suckers tomorrow, they're going to be pruning some roses. We'll see how that back end works. These I've actually used, like I said, at work. I tried to clean the red off of them and the yellow. The yellow is what I used to mark. I know I got it off. The red sometimes blends in. My apologies if they look dirty. And one of the dorkiest things you could pick up, but super, super impressive when you step back and analyze it. But if you've got any of this stuff, let me know what you like, how it's performing for you, how it's holding up. Again, $50 free freight, $100 get you the sticker pack. We got the same Veriflyer. We got a new bit, number 9 and 24. and some pretty cool tools. So with that, we have wrapped up KC Tool Haul number 11. I got 2 more behind me. I gotta make supper, work out, hopefully shower before the storms come tonight, and get up early tomorrow. But like I said, gonna put this sucker to use tonight, possibly if I can. This guy's going to use tomorrow, and might be the least glamorous thing, at least in terms of, you know, the average purchaser that would be watching this type of video. But if your wife, if you're in landscape, might be worth noting that they are kind of designed for that. So we'll see how they hold up. But again, if you've got any first-hand feedback on this stuff, if you've wanted any of it for a long time, if you've picked some of it up recently, let me know how it's doing for you. As always, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, leave a comment, let me know your thoughts. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. LoneStarMopars.com. Again, I will get that KC Tool bit list up. And like I said, there's no real greater purpose in life than collecting all 24 bits. So it's kind of what we're working towards. I'm sure some of you are too. I will quit rambling. I got some other cool stuff to take a look at, and I will catch you back here in the next one.